Greetings! Welcome to Nina's World. This podcast provides a short respite from the trials and tribulations of everyday life. We're going to step back in time to the 1950s and 60s. And now, our story. Nina's commercial enterprise. Nina's brother, Paul, skinny but sturdy, stood out among the caddies because of his red hair. Other teen boys and he would arrive early at the golf course to carry a bag in exchange for a fee at the end of the round. It could be hard work if he had to carry 2 bags at a time, had to find errant golf balls in the rough, or clean the clubs at the end of the game. He'd listen to the players gabbing about business, local politics, or a medical operation that had been done particularly well. But doctors were the worst tippers, he used to tell his younger siblings, and after the caddy master took his cut, Paul wondered if it was worth his time. He'd put some of the money aside to buy his fantasy car when he was old enough to drive, and use some change to buy a bottle of Gruber's root beer soda. He drank it as he walked home. Nina begged to have the empty bottle so she could trade it in for 2-cent deposit and buy some orange slices, caramel twirls, or Tootsie Rolls at Stretchy's grocery store. The store was nothing more than the front of 2 rooms of a house, with the living in the back and upstairs. It had a meat case in what would have been the dining room, aisles and shelves for canned goods in the hallway leading to the front room. Nina and her sisters didn't care about any of that. All they wanted to do was stare into the candy case just to the left after they had entered the screen door. It had a wooden frame, slanted glass panels, and glass shelves filled with boxes of penny candy. The 2 cents weren't enough to interest Paul, since he'd have to carry the bottle to the golf course, stash it somewhere safe, and then carry it to the store again. He readily gave Nina the bottle. Alas, it was too late to go to the candy store that day. She washed the chunky glass bottle and put it on the floor beneath the pencil sharpener. Although eager for the candy, Nina used the delay to argue with herself about what she should buy. BB Bats, caramel taffy lasted a long time, but malt balls were crunchy yummy. She could get a lot of candy buttons plastered on thin white paper like a cash receipt, but they all tasted the same, and she would never, ever in a million years again buy circus peanuts because they were spongy globs and tasted like a dirty sock smelled. The next day, same thing. Paul caddied, this time bought an orange soda, drank it on his way home, and gave Nina the bottle. She washed it and placed it next to the other empty one. She looked at them. 2 soldiers reporting for duty. It dawned on her that if she waited until she had 7 bottles, she could buy her very own soda. She imagined sipping it slowly as she returned from the store, purposefully walking past the playground where she hoped the neighborhood kids would see her and be the object of their envy. It was 2 weeks before Nina had 7 bottles, 6 to count the cost of the soda and 1 for the 2-cent deposit, a never-ending cycle of commerce. But she didn't care about any of that either. All she wanted was the cold, frosted bottle of deliciously delectable, fantastically fizzy, amazingly aromatic soda. Nina had to decide which flavor of the deliciously delectable, fantastically fizzy, amazingly aromatic soda she should select. What started as an obvious choice expanded into a realm of possibilities suggested by her younger sister Martha, who offered to help carry the bottles to the store in exchange for a swig or two. Cream, black cherry, grape, orange, and root beer were all contenders. Forget about ginger ale, because that was only used if someone had an upset stomach and needed to belch. Martha and Nina debated the merits of each flavor before turning in for the night. Later, Nina dreamed of shelf after shelf with familiar flavors stacked as high as Jack's beanstalk. The following morning, after breakfast, chores, and a warning to be careful, Nina and Martha began their expedition. The girls crossed the street and started to walk past the Finch's house. From their side yard, they could hear barking. Penny, the Finch's hunting beagle, was trying to get the girls' attention. It was agreed that a little visit with Penny was worth the delay, so they backtracked slightly, placed the bottles in the grass near the cement steps, and went to coddle and coo and pet and probably pester Penny. Penny didn't mind at all. She laughed at their faces, brushed her head under their hands, begging for more petting and light scratches under her chin or behind her ears. It was pure delight for all three girls. They were about to continue their trek when Mrs. Finch came out the back door with a tray of lemonade and a dish of sugar cookies. She invited Nina and Martha to join her on the porch. Well, how could they refuse? Stretchy's store would be open all day, so no need to be rude to Mrs. Finch or to do without a sugar cookie or two. The three ladies had a hen party on the porch. Nina told Mrs. Finch the story about saving Paul's soda bottles and how Martha was helping her to carry them to the store. A short time later, not wanting to use the pretty cloth napkins, the girls brushed the crumbs and lemonade mustaches from their faces using the back of their hands. Nina burped, and everyone laughed. There was some question as to whether Penny heard that noise because she gave a short bark as the girls retrieved the soda bottles and walked to the corner. Turning left at East Street, Nina and Martha were holding the bottles tightly because each one was needed. The 6 bottles at 2 cents each would cover the cost of the soda. The 7th remained for Martha because they needed to have the 2-cent deposit. Nina thought she might as well work at a bank. The conversation about which flavor she wanted to choose started all over again. Orange was sweet and tangy at the same time and seemed like a serious contender. As they got to the top of the street, the mailman was gathering letters from the mailbox. The girls stopped to watch, curious about the process, and peppered the mailman with lots of questions. He patiently answered them as he worked, and then explained that he had lots of mail to deliver and had to be on his way. It had only taken a few minutes, so Nina wasn't worried, because the candy store would be open all day. The playground was at the next corner. They could walk straight for another block or make a right on Decatur Street. No rush. They decided to go to the playground and use the swings. Such fun! Up in the air and down, just like in the poem, over and over, while keeping an eye on the soda bottles. There was still time to use the sliding board and seesaw. With only a mother and a baby in a carriage, they had the whole playground to themselves. Might as well make advantage of it. And they did, playing and chatting about the possibilities of grape soda for its fruity, rich taste. After drinks from the water fountain, they picked up the bottles and continued their journey. At the corner of Decatur and Cherry Street, they made a left. It had gotten much warmer, and they wished there was more shade. Nina said, "Let's walk slow in the shade and then run until we get to the next shady spot. Then we can walk again." Martha agreed. It was a good idea. Off they went, skip running to the next shady area until there was a clank. One of the bottles had slipped from Nina's arms and could not be captured before it hit the ground, bounced a little, and ended up on the grass. A scream that could have been heard in another county escaped from Nina's throat. She imagined her dream of the cold, sweet elixir of summer fading as she carefully placed the other bottles on the grass. Martha stood still, holding the 3 bottles she had closer to her chest, not wanting to make the situation worse. Nina examined the fallen soldier. Oh, not broken, not cracked, just a little chip of glass off the bottle. Nina grabbed the bottle, raised it up like the Holy Grail, exclaiming, "Hooray! We still have enough bottles to trade in for soda. Let's go." Martha asked, "What about cream soda? That's always good." Nina replied, "So's black cherry. That's really, really good. And root beer would taste mighty fine, too." The girls walked on just a block or so from the store when a police car slowed down. Window open, the officer called out with a chuckle, "Good afternoon, girls. Out for a walk on the town?" "Hey, don't I know you? Aren't you that little girl who didn't want to go to afternoon kindergarten?" Martha and Nina stopped. Nina wondered if her picture was posted on the police blotter with the word "wanted" above it. Nina knew she should answer and said, "Well, it was such a long walk, and I had to go by myself, and I didn't want to. And so, yeah, it was me. But I'm a big girl now, and I go to school every day. Well, during the school year, that is." When Nina gets nervous, she either starts gabbing like a cuckoo or remains silent like a turtle. Martha piped up, "We're going to Stretchy's for a soda, but we don't know what flavor yet." Nina was now acting like the turtle. The officer looked at his wristwatch and said, "Stretchy's? Better hurry. They close early today." Without another word, Nina and Martha took off walking as quickly as they could. Martha knew she had to decide. Would it be cream, black cherry, grape, orange, or root beer? They arrived at the store, put the bottles on the grass, and pulled at the screen door. Locked. Locked. The door was locked. But it couldn't be locked. They had walked all this way, carried the bottles, debated which flavor to buy, and Nina finally decided what flavor of soda she wanted. No, no, no. No cold soda to sip? No cold soda to share? It was incomprehensible. It was impossible. The police officer pulled up, looked at his watch, parked his car, exited, and went to the back of the store and knocked. Mr. Stretchy answered. Conversation, but the owner shook his head and went back into the house as the police officer returned to the girls. Before anything could be said, any tears could be shed, the screen door of the store was opened. "I heard you girls have some soda bottles that you want to trade in for a cold one. Come on in. I was just closing up, but for something this important, a few more minutes won't hurt none." The sisters picked up their treasures. Back in his car, the police officer called out, "Thanks, Ed. Appreciate your willingness to help these young damsels in distress." The girls turned to wave as best they could while still pressing the bottles tight. As the girls entered the darkened store, Mr. Stretchy turned on the lights. The bottles clanged onto the counter. Martha wondered and looked around what else there was to see, went to the ice cream case, spotted a picture, and read some of the words. Chocolate covered vanilla ice cream on a stick cost 7 cents each. Nina bought 2. The end. Thank you for visiting with us today. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with everyone you know. Return next week for another story from Nina's World. This story was written and read by Christine McKee, with gratitude to Dr. Ethel Racken of Bucks County Community College for editorial consultation and encouragement. Additional heartfelt support from family, friends, and members of my writing groups. Technical support was provided by Mr. Dan Tarrant of Personally Catholic. Sound engineering by Mr. Andrew Kimmock of AK Productions. May you embrace peace in your heart, in your home, and in your world.